Up next on Eco Company.
It's all about the ocean. So, any questions about marine life? These teens have the answers. They're eco ambassadors, telling us a thing or two about their passion for the sea.
Then, scientists to the rescue. But it's not what you might think. They're saving threatened sea otters.
We bring in southern sea otters that are injured, stranded, or orphaned with the purpose of rehabilitating them and putting them back into the wild.
We go behind the scenes of the Monterey Bay Aquarium Sea Otter Rescue Program.
Plus, heading out to sea looking for trash.
Some of the most common things that we're finding are plastic bags, plastic water bottles, things like cigarette butts.
How these students are fighting for a cleaner beach and ocean.
And are the oceans heating up?
If you're not really measuring the warming of the oceans, you really aren't measuring the biggest signal in climate change.
A NASA scientist explains what it could mean for the entire ecosystem.
All that and more on Eco Company.
Starting right now.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into Eco Company. I'm Miles.
And I'm Rain. And today we're coming to you seaside because we're talking about our oceans.
Yeah, and preserving our oceans begins with education.
What a better place to start than the Monterey Bay Aquarium, where the teens you're about to meet are on it.
They're teaching others a thing or two about marine life, and Jordan is catching up with them.
There are fish, and there are fish. Throw in some jellies, spectacular seahorses, and these wet fur balls, and what do you get? You get the Monterey Bay Aquarium in Monterey, California.
That's an ochre star hanging out on a nice big piece of giant kelp.
Here, visitors learn about ocean life, why it's in trouble, and what we can do about it. And they have some special guides helping them.
On your entire head, you have 100,000 hairs. On 1 square inch, about that big, they have 1 million.
High school students Eric Krieger and Michelle Zill are part of the aquarium's student guide program.
Do you think a whale with teeth like this is going to eat squid? And then when we work on the floor, we try and get people interested, not only about conservation, but also to teach them about the ocean and the animals in it, to get them excited about it.
We have had a student guide program for at least 20 years, if more than that. And they have gained skills and then they have come back. Some of them are on staff and they're fabulous. They've been here as a student and kind of through college and come back as staff.
Trisha Moneypenny is an aquarium educator and helps these guys out.
You want to feel some otter fur?
That's what they feel like, Chrissy.
Bet you can guess Michelle's favorite exhibit.
Sea otters are actually the first thing that drew me to start working at the aquarium. When I originally visited when I was very little, the otters were my favorite exhibit. I like to say that instead of having a teddy bear, I had a little stuffed otter.
So here we are at the kelp forest. So can you tell me about this?
Well, we're actually the first aquarium to ever grow live kelp. As you can see, there are so many animals and it's just a wonderful place.
Okay, so I see a couple of fish here and they're not really moving. Are they dead?
No, those are rockfish. They're ambush predators, so that means that they stay and pretend like they're dead or asleep, and then when their food swims by, they'll go and get it.
Rockfish are big too. Slow-growing fish like it are on the aquarium's seafood watch list.
Are you interested in the seafood watch card?
Yes, please.
Oh, good.
The Seafood Watch List is a guide to sustainable choices. Student guide Eric Krieger likes to hang out here.
Basically what we do is we tell people about what fish they should buy to help support the environment more, and which fish they should try and stay away from because their practices aren't done with the environment in mind. So it's basically a guide to eating more ocean friendly. We don't want to eat the avoid fish. We want to try and cut these out of our diet. The yellow list, we want to try and just limit our consumption. And then the green list, these are the fish we want to try and eat the most of.
So which types of fish should we buy? Can you give me one example?
Well, like I said, the salmon from Alaska is a really great choice. Halibut is another great one. Would you like some fish that we should avoid?
Yeah.
Okay, so some fish we should avoid. Atlantic salmon is one that we should not eat. Another one is shark and rockfish. Those are two that we should try and avoid at all costs.
These kids are so great, and it's really exciting to see them expand and grow and learn new things and be those leaders in the future.
is an experience that these teens won't ever forget.
It has been one of the funnest experiences of my entire life. I've met so many people, I've made so many great new friends, and I've learned so much about the world that I live in, that we all live in, about the marine environment and the animals here. And if anybody has an opportunity like it, I recommend they do it.
Did you know that the adorable southern sea otter is an endangered species?
It's true, but a group of scientists at the Monterey Bay Aquarium are on a mission to change all that.
They're part of a program that rescues, saves, and studies sea otters.
And Jelena goes behind the scenes to learn all about it.
From seahorses to kelp forests and jellyfish that glow in the dark, there's a lot to discover at the Monterey Bay Aquarium off the coast of California. But we're here for these guys, or should we say, these girls.
So we currently have 3 exhibit females.
These playful, furry crowd pleasers are southern sea otters.
They're feisty in nature. I feel like I relate to them a little bit on that level.
You know, I have a lot of fun with them, just generally. You know, obviously them being really cute does not hurt the situation either. Good, May, window.
And here at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, their days are anything but dull.
Our job is to pamper and take care of them.
For researchers like Hannah von Weiss, that means keeping them entertained, active, and happy.
Essentially, we take care of them through every, you know, from the start to the finish of the day.
All right, so what are we doing here?
We're actually throwing some ice to our girls, which is a form of enrichment that we'll do with them. And so if you see, they're actually every once in a while looking up at you because they know that you're going to throw them some ice.
These sea otters don't just love to chomp on it.
They really actually like to get out on deck and roll in the ice as well.
The water in the tank is bay temperature, averaging around 53 degrees. So it's a good thing they have thick fur. But as the aquarium's Angela Haynes tells us, it's one reason the southern sea otter was once considered endangered.
At one point in time, for several decades, sea otters were thought to be extinct. And the reason that they were hunted was for their beautiful fur, that pelt that is 1 million hairs per square inch, and a lot of people wanted that fur for coats.
These days, the population is still struggling, and scientists are trying to figure out why.
So they are still a threatened species. Their numbers are below 2,000, so they're an important species for us to protect because we were so close to losing them.
So why are they so important? They're a keystone species that help keep ecosystems in balance.
And sea otters are at the top of this kelp forest. They live at the top of it, but they eat from the bottom of it. They eat the filter feeders that are the urchins, the mussels, crabs, clams. All these things filter the water. So if sea otters get sick, then we know that something's happening throughout the entire ecosystem.
This is where the aquarium's Southern Sea Otter Research and Conservation Program comes in. Known as SORAC, its goal is to help study sea otters and save the population. Animal research specialist Sandrine Hazan gives us the scoop.
We bring in southern sea otters that are injured, stranded, or orphaned with the purpose of rehabilitating them and putting them back into the wild.
The females here, in the front tank, play a big role in the program. The public gets a glimpse of 2 of them having fun in the exhibit today.
Abby is kind of in training right now, which Abby is our darker female here who's actually just 5 years old. May, though, yes, she is one of our surrogate moms, and she has had, I think, 3 pups now that she's been a surrogate mom for.
As for the 3rd female resident, Rosa, she's a little busy at the moment. She's playing mom to a pup right now, away from the public eye. This is the aquarium's back tank, where mom and her adopted pup spend 6 months.
The otters that come in less than 8 weeks old, we hand raise them wearing our disguises, and once they get to the point that they are on solid food, we end up putting them with a surrogate, and they take on the responsibility of showing them how to forage for food and giving them the tools to survive in the wild.
The goal is to teach these pups survival skills and get them prepared for life in the wild. That's where this seafood smorgasbord comes in.
We've got clams, and then down at the bottom we have crabs. So we try to offer live food every day so that at different stages in their development they have the opportunity to learn how to handle live food.
Ooh, that is cold.
It is cold. We're adding 2 kilos, so we want to go to 3.3.
But you need a special uniform to play food server.
This mask so they can't see you, but you can see them.
Researchers wear disguises so the otters don't get used to humans.
All right, ready? And it's quick and easy. Okay.
They're even careful choosing their toys.
We only give them naturalistic stuff, so we'll give them rocks. And if we do give them toys of any sort, it's a color that's a neutral color, you know, that is potentially something they would see out there.
After 6 months, the pups should be ready to strike out on their own. They're tracked and monitored in the wild.
It is definitely extremely gratifying to see the whole developmental process, being able to bottle feed a sea otter pup and then watch it successfully be released into the wild.
They truly do make me happy. It's really fun to work with these animals. You know, you get to learn a lot about them and you just build a really fun relationship with them.
It's just one reason these researchers savor every day on the job. Their hope that through their efforts, this iconic species that represents the diversity of life in our oceans will be around for generations to come.
Coming up next, setting sail on a mission to keep plastic out of our oceans.
We're really concerned about what's going on out in the ocean with all the trash that's ending up in the ocean and what it's doing to all the critters.
These teens are helping to track the source of all that trash.
And later, turning up the heat on our oceans.
80 or 90% of the heat that's trapped from man-made greenhouse gases actually goes into warming the oceans.
NASA scientists explain what it could mean for the entire ecosystem. More Eco Company is still ahead. Hey guys, thanks for joining us on Eco Company, here along the California coast.
There are dozens of species of marine mammals that live in and pass through these waters.
Yeah, like seals, otters, or even whales, and you might get lucky enough to spot one.
But there's a big danger floating out there for all of them, and we're setting sail to find out what that is.
Welcome aboard the Derek M. Bayless, a research vessel setting sail with some special researchers on board.
We're very excited to have you guys with us today.
These middle school students are getting their sea legs thanks to the Young Women in Science program run by the Monterey Bay Aquarium. At the helm of this voyage, Captain Dave Robinson.
Thank you so much for having us aboard. So what do you do exactly?
Well, we're really concerned about what's going on out in the ocean with all the trash that's ending up in the ocean and what it's doing to all the critters. And what we're trying to do is pick up all the trash that we find out here.
Today, these young sailors are a part of that mission. It all starts with a look at some of the marine life they're protecting.
Put this plankton net in the water.
It means getting their hands wet too.
You're going to hold this top here really, really tightly, and you are going to open it. You're going to unscrew it, okay? Give this to Christine, and Christine is going to put it under the video microscope. We've got lots of different types. I'll come over here and dig through the kelp and see if we can find some critters. These actually are little animals called bryozoans.
Everything about this trip teaches them about ocean life and why it's important to protect.
Sea otters were hunted. Anybody know why people would hunt? For their fur. Is their fur super thick? Super thick.
And we've actually got a sea otter.
On cue.
Yeah.
They won't biodegrade.
It isn't long before a piece of trash makes an appearance.
¿Dónde lo ponemos? Where should we put it? ¿Quién me quiere ayudar?
You can give it to Martine. He's marking it on the GPS.
So that's where we found our trash. And it says cigarette butt.
So you saw us capture it on the machine. The next step is to make the big map so we can all see where the trash is.
That's what you see here.
What we've got is a map that's a compilation of all the debris that we've picked up out here. And we've used those points, we've plotted them via the GPS. And what we're trying to figure out is where exactly the trash is coming from.
What are some of the things that you find?
Some of the most common things that we're finding are plastic bags, plastic water bottles, things like cigarette butts.
Plastic is a big problem. Scientists estimate that up to 1 million seabirds and 100,000 marine mammals die from eating plastic every year.
What we've got right here is a great representation of the gut content of one single baby albatross.
Oh wow, just one?
Just one. And if you notice, there's a lot of one-time use disposable plastic items in here.
I can't believe having that inside me.
It's incredible, and imagine you wouldn't be hungry if your stomach was full of this, would you? and that's how they starve to death. And that's why we're working so hard to try and figure out the sources of all this trash, and also to try and help educate the public on what they can do to be better stewards of our oceans.
Now we're going to find out where all the plastic is coming from. Let's go. You don't have to go far to find out where all that trash is coming from. You guessed it, it's coming from us. The average person tosses out about 5 pounds of trash every day. A lot of that is plastic. These girls are on a mission to stop plastic and other trash from getting even close to the water.
Well, we are looking at the wharf and kind of mapping out where there are garbage bins and recycling bins. We noticed that there was a lot of garbage cans, but no recycling bins. We need one more, Vanessa.
Trisha Moneypenny is an education specialist for the aquarium. She says later they'll be back to talk to businesses about making changes.
Up and down the wharf, all the little chowder samples typically have been plastic. We've seen that starting to change over now, and actually the girls just went and took a picture of a biodegradable cup for a sample, which is awesome to see, but just last year it's all plastic. And that ends up right in the bay.
That's what these guys don't want. So they're headed now to the beach for trash duty. From throwing our trash away and keeping it off our beaches, to dishing it out of our oceans, and keeping marine animals safe. It's all about keeping what's on land out of here.
And for healthy oceans, we've got to live healthier lives on land.
A win-win for us and the planet.
Are the oceans heating up?
Coming up next, we get the answer to that question from a NASA scientist.
More Eco Company is still ahead.
There's another group of researchers with their eye on the oceans, and that's NASA's finest.
Adam catches up with one scientist studying climate change.
Hey guys, I'm at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. This is a replica of the Mars rover used to detect signs of water on the red planet. Now, oceans cover 2/3 of Earth's surface, so how are they affected by climate change? That's what we're here to find out. Think the beach is a great place to hang out? Well, what if they were all to disappear?
This is happening all around the world. We're losing our beaches, our coastlines are eroding, and sea level is definitely rising.
That's Josh Willis, an oceanographer with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He studies ocean water temperatures around the globe using technology from both space and at sea. And that makes him a guy to listen to when it comes to climate change.
What happens when we emit CO2 in the atmosphere is it stays for a very long time, and it traps some of the outgoing heat that would otherwise escape into space. This trapped heat warms the ocean, warms the planet, melts the glaciers and ice sheets, and is the driver for sea level rise and climate change.
Willis is part of a team that's trying to figure out just what the oceans are telling us, and what it means for the future.
Because it turns out that 80 or 90% of the heat that's trapped from man-made greenhouse gases actually goes into warming the oceans. So if you're not really measuring the warming of the oceans, you really aren't measuring the biggest signal in climate change.
Willis says disappearing coastlines are a big indicator that something's amiss. Namely, it's getting warmer out there.
Definitely since the early 90s, we can see the oceans warming as a result of human-caused climate change.
That's where all the concern about sea level rise comes in. It's basic physics. When water heats up, it expands, takes up more space, and suddenly you've got more water to deal with. So warmer temperatures account for 1/3 of sea level rise. The rest is caused by melting ice in the Arctic.
So whenever ice sheets melt, whenever glaciers melt, and this water finds its way back into the ocean, it raises the level of the oceans as well. So about 2/3 of current sea level rise is actually from this melting of land ice. The Larsen B ice shelf, which you may remember from several years ago, broke up. That ice shelf was almost 10,000 years old. It had been there since at least the last ice age. We're seeing these events that are happening that haven't been occurring. It hasn't been this warm and we haven't had this much ice loss anytime in the last several thousand years.
NASA's GRACE satellite, which measures ice loss on continents, shows us the situation's no joke.
One of the places we can see ice loss is Greenland. Greenland is the second biggest ice sheet on the planet, and it holds enough water to raise sea level by something like 20 feet.
It's a 1-2 punch that has many researchers concerned.
We're definitely looking at sea level rise in the next 100 years. The big question for researchers now is how much?
While there may be some questions still to answer, Willis says one thing's for certain.
It's going to be a warmer planet, and we're going to have higher sea levels.
We'll see it.
We'll definitely see it. We can already see it in our lifetime in many ways.
Something to think about next time you hit the beach.
Well, that's a wrap for this week. Thanks for tuning in.
For more information on stories in our show, check out our website at eco-company.tv.
And remember, you too can be part of the solution. See you next time
on Eco Company.